illegal air. I have spent most of my life living by the South Circular, a road responsible for a lot of London traffic. To get to school as a child, I walked alongside it with my sister. We played in the pollution of the playground, minutes away from the rows of traffic. But I didn't realise the air was an issue back then. It was just the air we breathed. My classmate at school had asthma. She was bubbly, dynamic, and kind, but at the age of 9, she stopped breathing. I found out through my mum. I hadn't realised she was sick or how serious it was. She died because of the toxic air we grew up surrounded by. Air pollution kills so many, and so often their stories are invisible. Her mother is campaigning to change her daughter's death certificate to cite illegal air pollution as her cause of death. Her family's fight for justice has opened my eyes to the extreme inequality of clean air. Now I can't stop seeing the invisible danger. I sit on the bus on the South Circular for 2 hours every day to get to school. What is the effect of air pollution on my body and my lungs? Is breathing, just breathing, ruining my future? My name is Anjali. I'm 16 years old, and I'm asking you to protect our communities from this invisible killer.
My little sister is full of jokes. I'd be here for years if I could tell you every moment she's made me laugh. But one moment I'll never forget is the walk we took around the perimeter of Brighton Beach. It lasted nearly an hour, and she cartwheeled her way down the pavement, singing like nobody was watching. But I couldn't stop watching her, admiring her confidence in this unfamiliar area. You see, she's asthmatic. That might not sound like a big deal, but in my part of London, it means waking up in the middle of the night to find your loved one struggling to breathe, not doing cartwheels. It means feeling helpless when they called 999 and the ambulance took her away. My little sister, with a personality larger than life, full of energy, reduced to one terrible moment I never want to repeat. It happened to the person I want to protect more than anyone in the world. Air pollution is one of the major triggers to her asthma. When the air gets worse, her breathing suffers, and everyone who loves her suffers too. She is not alone. Kids all over London, especially from black and brown communities like mine, are living with this. We are being abandoned. The indifference is astronomical, and it is fatal. Meanwhile, can you guess which boroughs are the cleanest? Surprise, surprise, Kensington and Chelsea is home to some of the cleanest air in London. It also benefits from extreme affluence. Does their prosperity buy them clean air? My name is Destiny, I am 17 years old, and I implore you to listen to us. Lives hang in the balance.
Part of my family is from Mozambique. When I speak to my cousins on WhatsApp, they tell me they are worried about crops failing and food shortages that are happening more often now as a result. I'm here, they are there. Climate change is affecting my family now. Extreme droughts and freak storms are becoming more and more frequent in Mozambique. At the same time, air pollution is reaching all-time highs here in London. Politicians might think that people in this country have no reason to care about climate change. But like many Londoners, I can already see the devastating effects around the world and the looming danger for us here at home. My name is Nyeleti, I'm 16 years old, and I want you to take this climate and air quality crisis seriously for the sake of all Londoners.
Some of my happiest childhood memories were outside. I remember growing up around tall, ancient trees and playing outdoors. Half of my family is from Jamaica, and I remember the air there being so clean and clear in the countryside. The opposite of what it's like here in London. The biodiversity in the global south will start disappearing. People's livelihoods will suffer. It's already starting. I'm afraid about what will happen to my family's environment and how they will cope with climate change, knowing that they will be impacted first and more severely. Here in the UK, we have the advantage of having more time to fight back. Let's not take that for granted. The best thing we can try and do now is to reverse the damage that's already been done. My name is Kaydine. I'm 17 years old, and I'm asking you to help us ensure the future of coming generations.
These are our personal connections to a much broader global issue. It's not just about the polar bears. The problem is that our stories don't get heard.
40,000 people. Pause. Hold that number in your mind just for a moment. 40,000 people a year in the UK die from air pollution. They die. And that is just the number we know about. That number does not even cover the people who live with the effects of pollution every single day.
Dementia, chronic illnesses, decreased fertility, and shortened life expectancy, all linked to pollution. Did you know that toxic pollutants are found in placentas?
We are allowing our failures to ruin new generations before they're even born.
Let's think about that number again for a moment. 40,000 people. But who's really dying? Who is struggling to breathe? How much do you think about the air you breathe, and what does that say about your place in society?
Black and brown communities are more affected, as are in inner London and poorer communities. 83% of primary schools exposed to air pollution are considered deprived and have higher than average percentages of black and brown children. Brixton is one of the most deprived boroughs in London. In 2018, Brixton Road passed the annual EU limit for toxic nitrogen dioxide in just 1 month and 2 days.
We are all facing a pandemic that is about our ability to breathe. A pandemic that also disproportionately affects the lungs of black and brown people.
Coronavirus is currently beyond our control. Pollution isn't. And yet we are failing to address the problem that harms our health even more severely. This is a clear and brutal example of the harsh realities of environmental racism.
The EU does most of the work right now to monitor our air quality. It sets the legal limits on air pollutants that each country in the EU should meet. The UK released its own clean air strategy in 2019, which stated air quality targets to meet, but no laws. Targets, but no laws. When we leave the EU, it might no longer be illegal to let people breathe toxic air. We need clean air laws, and we need them now.
Apparently, when we leave the EU, we will have the opportunity to make our laws and control our own destinies. So let's do something incredible. Let's get ambitious. After Brexit, we should go further than current EU limits on air pollution, which simply are not working. We need to attack this problem. So hey, let's take back control.
The UK's laws on clean air were created in the 50s, when London was covered in a black smog that claimed 12,000 lives. Now, in 2020, air pollution is claiming 40,000 lives every year. We're in the middle of a respiratory disease pandemic, and this is harming our health and our children's life chances.
We need bold new laws urgently. Our current system is outdated for 21st century problems. We need a new Clean Air Act that responds to today's problems. We need binding targets for reducing air pollution by 2030 in line with the World Health Organization guidelines. We need to take diesel cars off the road sooner than currently planned, and we need to enshrine the right to clean air in law.
In the 1950s, people could see the smog, so they could see the problem. Today, we face a killer you can't see, not just because it's invisible, but because it affects people in our country with less power and less of a voice. But we are building that power, and we are making ourselves impossible to ignore. This is something young Londoners care about. The environmental justice movement is not white and middle class. It's about fairness for our friends and family. It's about allowing us to breathe.
We need a new Clean Air Act. Helen, will you help us? Not just to reduce air pollution in London and across the UK, but to show that climate justice is an issue that young people like us are taking a stand about. Help us show that our voices, the air we breathe, is an important issue to debate.
We are asking you to introduce our campaign, Choked Up, to Shadow Cabinet's leads on the environment for a fact-finding conversation about Labour's plans for the Clean Air Act. We would like to speak to Luke Pollard, Alan Whitehead, Matthew Pennycook, and other colleagues who can help us get action on this issue.
Will you work with us to table some parliamentary questions about this issue so we can understand the government's plans for tackling air pollution after Brexit and push them to go further?
Will you help us build our network of policy experts? Can you introduce us to the civil servants working on the issue of clean air so we can talk details, timelines and obstacles with your input and your help?
We are choked up.
But when we're done, we'll all be able to breathe easy. Thank you very much.